Today we're going to be talking about the difference between a $100 adapter and an almost $300 adapter. Let's get into it. Welcome back to the Pursuit Production. My name is Christian McKean.
I'm Joseph Fraser.
And today we're going to be talking about the difference between mounts and adapters. And it's really important to know the difference because if you get this wrong, you're going to be really frustrated with yourself because it's sometimes really hard to spot online when you're ordering a lens which lens has which adapter. It'll say it. You just have to know where to look for it because if you buy the wrong one, you're going to have a camera and a lens in front of you and they're not going to be able to connect and you're going to be able to you're going to be like, why is this happening? Why can't I get my cameras? And then you're going to realize, oh wait, I bought a Sony lens for a Canon camera or whatever combination you have. So this video is to teach all of my volunteers, but then all of you guys out there as well, video directors, what the difference is and how to avoid making the wrong purchases and also how to make the cheapest purchase for the most bang for your buck. So let's start with the red Komodo, which has an RF mount on the camera body. Now, if you take off the adapter, we can see that this is an RF mount. Here's the problem though, is that the RF camera mount, we don't have any RF lenses. We use EF and we actually have a PL lens. So none of those work on this camera, so we have this adapter. So go ahead and hold up the adapter. We understand the camera body is exposed right now. We're gonna cover it in a second. We have the adapter and the adapter is it's an RF to an EF adapter. This adapter is very cheap. It's gonna run you $100 to $130 on B&H. It's really great. We've had no problems with it. We love this adapter. So go ahead and attach it back to the camera. It's really great to have these adapters because you're not forced, you're not locked in to just buying RF lenses for RF cameras. And the same if you have a Canon camera, you're not locked in to just having an EF mount or an RF mount. Whatever that specific camera is, you can mix and match based off the adapters that you get. Now, some adapters are much more expensive than others. When we first started this, all of the DZO lenses that we got were all PL mount. That was a problem. That was a big problem. Not only because these adapters, these PL adapters to RF, which we needed so that we could get our DZO film lenses on our cameras, but these adapters are like $270. These are expensive adapters.
They're heavy.
And also, these are not easy. I didn't know the difference between PL and EF. I was just like, oh, well, they come as PL, so it's not a big deal. No, it's a big deal. Look at the difference here. You have these threaded mounts right here on the back, and it doesn't just like line up and then click. You really have to make sure that each individual piece is getting on the right spot on your mount. I'll try to do it so you can see it. That lines up and then the adapter spins and twists and then locks in. It's not complicated, but it is a little bit, it's definitely more complicated than EF. Yeah. And I would have left it like this if it weren't for the fact that every time a volunteer needed to put a lens on, they needed help. If you have volunteers that are running this, especially younger ones, do not get PL mount lenses. It's just so important to be able to have a lens adapter or a lens that you can easily connect onto your camera. The EFs are the best ones because look at this, they have a red dot right here on the top. It might be kind of hard to see, but there's a red dot right here. And then it lines up, go ahead, Joseph, show them. Lines up with the red dot on the top of your mount, your adapter, and then you twist until you hear a satisfying click and you're good to go. It's very different from the PL to RF mount. And so this is the best setup that we have. Honestly, an even better setup than this in the future, let's go ahead and cover this. An even better setup to have would be to just do RF lenses. I think if I were to go back and redo all this, I'd get rid of the adapters, I'd get rid of the PL, I'd get rid of the EF, I would just go Canon RF photo lenses. And sometimes that's not what you want. Listen, DZO film lenses look amazing. One of the problems I had to fix though is we cannot use PL anymore. Like we need to use EF. Like that was the cheapest solution we could find. So I'm gonna get a little technical, a little nerdy here for a second, but follow with me. We had what's called shims and a bayonet. and you're able to actually extract off the back part of the lens. Most people don't realize this. I didn't even know that you could do this with cameras, with lenses, but you can actually take off the mount, and if you have the right sized shims and bayonet, you can attach it to the back, you can re-screw in all of these threads, and then you now have an EF mount lens. It took me a while, YouTube videos, sitting on the floor, using a screwdriver, getting it all figured out. But it was the difference between having a lens that did not attach easily, doesn't detach easily either. Look at the difference between these two. This lens had the same mount as this guy until we changed it. And it was so important that we did change it for our team, but also it saved us a lot of money when we were able to go, oh, we don't need these $270 adapters. Let's just send them back and let's get the EF mount adapters on here. Joseph, you've used these cameras a lot. What, in your opinion, has been one of the hardest things to use with them and one of the easiest things? Do you ever find yourself like is it a challenge to use it? Or is it sometimes, because I've seen some volunteers come in and they're like, I don't know how this works. When you're showing volunteers it, like what's your process in that?
Process for setting up a camera, I guess, quickly just going through it would be grabbing the battery first just to kind of weigh down the camera and then going to the lens. If you just went directly to grabbing the lens, it's just gonna be off balance. The battery kind of helps it stay stabilized. And then going with these E-mount battery or E-mount EF mount lenses is just so much easier connecting, because most of the time when people were taking off the lenses, they would have to take off this lens from this PL RF mount, and they would take off the whole mount system.
The whole adapter would come off the camera.
And then they would try to find this cap for this, and they couldn't
because find the cap.
They had the cap for the lens.
The PL lens instead of the RF part. Yeah, it got really confusing, and that's one of the things that we actually still stumble over, and that's why I would change to RF mount lenses today, is because people still, to this day, sometimes new volunteers, when they come in, and it's not their fault, they just don't know. I mean, it's a whole complex system. They go to take off the lens, they take off the adapter, and they're sitting there and they don't have the right things to cover, the right lens caps.
Yeah.
So that is absolutely true. That happens is like, you want to make it easy to use for your team. And that's just one thing that I would absolutely do differently. But honestly, the setup's not bad. And I'm actually really glad that you pointed out the balance system, because sometimes your monitors are big. We've got a massive tear deck on the back of it. You want to make sure that your camera is balanced well. This camera it's a pretty chunky boy. It's pretty big. So we do our best to make it as light as possible. But sometimes you just got to work with what you got, and sometimes it's best to assemble your camera in the right order so that everything kind of goes on in a good process in the right way. And once you teach volunteers how to do it, they'll stick with it every time. It'll be great. It'll be awesome. Cool. Well, is there anything else you want to add on that?
That's all.
Cool. Well, this has been a little bit of a shorter video, but we really wanted to touch on the difference between the mounts that we have so that you guys at home can know, oh, hey, I should probably look this up before I go buy a bunch of lenses for the cameras that has a different mount. And if your camera has a different mount than the lenses, maybe before you panic, double check to see if you can get some adapters for them as well. But at the end of the day, I always recommend getting the lens that fits to the camera mount itself. My name is Chris McKean. Thank you so much for being here. Make sure to like, comment, and subscribe, and we'll see you in the next video.
Yeah.
Bye-bye.